Up until very recently, there was pretty much no native options for a fast, wide-angle prime lens for my R7 and C70. So things have changed a little bit now thanks to the release of the RF 24mm 1.8 prime lens. But before I got my hands on this, 7Artisans had reached out to me to try out their 25mm APS-C T1.05 cinema prime lens. With less and less third-party Canon RF mount lenses coming out, I had high hopes for this lens and decided to use it extensively over the past couple of weeks on a few different projects. So I figured what better way to start the video than to just show you a whole bunch of footage using this lens. Over the past week or so, I've been recording various autumnal/fall related activities, and I've put a whole load of clips into a short compilation. The combination I used to put this together was the Canon R7 and of course the 7Artisans 25mm T1.05 Cine lens. When I received the lens, I was immediately impressed with the packaging the lens came in, considering its budget price. It's a step up compared to Canon lenses in a similar price range that typically just come wrapped in bubble wrap in a box. As soon as I pulled out the lens, I noticed its weight. It comes in at a solid 750 grams. It feels very, very well built with its all metal construction. It has a very smooth focus ring with a nice long focus throw and distance markers. It also has a clickless aperture ring on the lens, meaning smooth and silent transitions between apertures. It has a metal lens cap covering a common 82mm filter thread. Overall, top marks from me for packaging and build quality. In terms of handling, the lens feels good on the R7. It's light enough that the smaller grip isn't too much of an issue. I can't comment too much on the handling, as honestly you should be using a lens like this rigged up with a cage, side handle or something like that with a follow focus. But I just don't have anything like that for the R7 quite yet. it fits even better on a C70 with the weight distributed nicely. So let's see what you get with that super fast f1.05 aperture. Here's the lens wide open, where you can see you get plenty of background separation thanks to that super fast aperture, which I believe gives a similar look to a 1.5 or 1.6 aperture on full frame equivalent. Here's the new Canon RF 24mm 1.8, so you can see side by side the extra separation you get with the 7Artisans lens in the leaves behind. The Canon may be a bit sharper wide open, but the 7Artisans lens is impressive considering how wide that aperture is. Of course, you can't deny the usefulness of autofocus and the lens stabilization that you get with the Canon though. Nevertheless, I was continually impressed with the sharp and contrasty images this lens produces on the R7, along with offering plenty of background separation. I'm usually filming with zooms on the R7 or the C70, so this super fast aperture prime lens gives me a look on these cameras I just don't get with any of my other lenses. In contrasty, backlit situations, I didn't notice too much chromatic aberration at all, so this seems to be pretty well controlled. That 1.05 aperture is also amazing to use at night and in low light situations, where in shots like this I don't even have to raise my ISO beyond the native 800. One weakness this lens does seem to have though is in some backlit situations where there seems to be a lot of heavy flaring that can be quite distracting. Now, as good as the R7 was, this lens truly shines on the C70, where the improved focus peaking makes it quite a bit easier to use. The R7 has terrible focus peaking along with the R5 and R6, where you really do need to use an external monitor if you're going to be using a manual focus lens. The C70 also has no IBIS, so you're going to get some more micro jitters, but it wasn't as bad as I expected, thanks to this being a bit of a heavier setup than the R7. It just seems to remove a lot of these little jitters if you are careful. I did use the electronic image stabilization in a lot of these clips, which, after looking back, I wasn't overly impressed with and would probably keep turned off in the future. This lens has a pretty close focusing distance and is nice and sharp and contrasty when you're getting those close-ups. So, overall, I am very impressed with this lens. It's one of the more fun lenses I've got the opportunity to try out over the past couple of months, and it's actually my first experience using anything from 7Artisans as a brand. I feel like you get great build quality and great optics for a very reasonable price here, and we're not getting very many RF mount third-party lenses now, so I'm definitely going to be checking out some of 7Artisans' other options for the RF mount. This lens also comes in a few different mount options such as Fuji X mount and Sony E mount, so if you happen to have one of the new FX30 or XH2S cameras, I feel like this could be a very good option for you. The super wide aperture of this lens gets you closer to that full frame look on the R7 and C70, and if you can live without autofocus and optical image stabilization, then I'd probably recommend this over the new Canon RF 24mm 1.8, which I do have a video coming on soon, especially for video and filmmaking anyway. Well, that rounds out the video. Thank you to 7Artisans for sending this lens out to me to try. You can find a link to their website in the description, so please check them out. And of course, big thank you to you guys for watching again, and I will see you in the next one.